Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? We are live. Sorry for that delay. I've been having this problem on Rumble that I didn't realize until yesterday that when I do my live streams and I set my thumbnail, it hasn't been setting my thumbnail. So I spent like 5 minutes trying to get it to accept my thumbnail. I don't know why. So people are getting different titles in the same thumbnail, and apparently it's been happening for a while now and I didn't realize it. So sorry for my Rumble crowd, but we are live right now on Twitter, YouTube, of course, Rockfin, shout out to my Rockfin crew, and Rumble. And we were going to be live on Instagram because I only recently found out that you can actually go live on Instagram from your streaming software. However, Instagram blocked me from streaming. Yeah, did not know until today. I've live streamed before from there, but in the last, I guess, 5 months, they blocked me from streaming. So yeah, what a life. And they didn't even give me a reason why. They don't even have they just say you're uneligible for streaming, even though I have like 100,000 followers and I'm verified. So yeah, so now we're not gonna be, not gonna be streaming from there, unfortunately, but we're streaming out on all of our normal places. We're gonna do some shout outs and then we're gonna get this show on the road. Ake, I hope I pronounced that right. Yep, you are the first. Appreciate you. Says that, oh, my man's at work. Taking back some of my surplus value. I hear that. Robbie Burns, what's going on? Dr. Riviera. I don't know, I always want to say Riviera. Riviera, what's going on? How you doing? Shout out to, and now we're having problems with Rockfin? With Rumble? Jesus Christ. Oh, never mind. Rumble corrected itself. That was weird. It's going to be one of them days, y'all. It's going to be one of them days. Did y'all get a chance to watch the interview or is your first time going to be with me? Because I hope it's with me because we going to laugh. You might cry a little bit or you might laugh to stop yourself from crying because it is sad. It is. It isn't hyperbole because when you watch it, you'll see. When I say like this really might be a campaign ender, I don't see how you walk. It was kind of like, remember whenever Joe Biden had that horrible debate performance and then they had that conference set up for him after to be like, okay, this is it, man. This is going to prove that he can actually finish this race. And then it was like, oh shit, this is the end. Yeah, that's basically what I got from the interview. It was bad. Even Tim Walz actually kind of came off as if he was unprepared. Like he wasn't prepared for how unprepared she was, actually, is what it looked like. But even he came off unprepared. I don't know. He was there. He was supposed to be there to make her look smart, to cover down for her hiccups. But instead, he had to deal with his own litany of flip-flopping and wishy-washy. So I laughed a lot. I laughed. In a sad way, though, because, these are the candidates we have for our country. Grape and Teen, what's going on? S-Con watching with Sabs. I figured Sabs would be covering it. Yeah, I wasn't going to stay up that late. And if I was going to stay up that late, I would probably stay up watching the Colorado game. I probably wouldn't have watched the interview. Yeah, I know I'm in Brazil, so the time difference. So, and I got a baby and kids. So whenever that baby go to sleep, I'm right there with him. I'm trying to get mine in before he wakes up. But yeah, it was obvious to me that they didn't want anybody to watch this interview from the jump. Like, first of all, if you read before the interview, there were whole meetings and strategies about how to go about conducting the first interview, like who they were going to go with, whether or not it was going to be pre-recorded or live, whether or not Kamala was going to do it by herself or with Tim, or they were going to do something separate, like the very specific time frame, and it was like. The strategy was clear. Make sure as few people see this as humanly possible and have those people who are somewhat interested but aren't going to watch the interview because of how late it is, watch the highlights on the news the next day so that the news analysts can tell them how to feel. The pundits can tell them how to feel about it instead of them actually watching it for themselves and deciding. Because if they decide for themselves, Jesus Christ. There's no, like, otherwise, why would they aired this interview during the Colorado North Dakota State football game. Colorado, the same Colorado that is being coached by Deion Sanders. And he has all this drama going on in the sports world right now. And everybody was watching the game, you know, of course. In this college football, Jesus Christ. So they didn't want anybody to watch it. And it became very apparent why. George Snyder, what's going on? Is Kamala reselected as the Cali governor after she loses to Trump? She was never the governor of California. Oh, you're saying reselected as the next Cali? I get what you mean. You're asking, will she be put in? No, they're not gonna get rid of their favorite white boy. Gavin Newsom. Oh, unless he ends up running. I could see her being put in charge of California, and then maybe they try to better her record and her, hopefully, give her some damn experience with talking to something other than a mirror or the people she's trying to put in jail for slave labor so she can practice. But I could see them doing that. Or, nah, they might need her back in the Senate. They might put her back in the Senate because I don't know who they have in line right now in California. So they might need her for the Senate. I don't know, but probably governor. I could see that because they got to appoint her somewhere because if she loses this, like, I don't know what she's qualified to do. I guess going back to being a lawyer. Like, I don't know what she would do. I'm not even sure she would win another Senate or another Senate race or another House race. So I don't know what she would do. I genuinely do not know. But I guess she would just retire. I mean, that's what VPs do, right? All right. So we're going to go ahead and get this show on the road as we got about 186 people in total watching. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure you share it. You know, you can support the show by tossing us a super chat or throwing us a tip on Rockfin. You can also join our Patreon. You can become a premium member on YouTube, or you can become a premium member on Rockfin. And of course, join our Telegram channel. All the links are in the description below. Oh, also, if you want to ask me a Q Bounty question, you can go to Q Bounty, which is in the description. Drop a Q Bounty question, and I can do a video about whatever question that you might have for me. And the good ones I post to YouTube. All right. Let's go ahead and pull up. They were kind enough to break this section down in parts because, I mean, how else do you consume black licorice by force other than consuming it in pieces because it's trash? Give me a second. Let me pull it up for y'all. I really, really hope that they don't try to kill us for showing this. All right. You know, sometimes CNN be weird like that. Whew. All right, y'all. Say a little prayer. Y'all take a deep breath. Let's dive in together.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the...
Yep. Very direct question. And that was the first answer. So you know where this is going. You see how this has already started. You said, what you gonna do the first day? There's a lot of things. First, I would just make the economy better, I guess. I would strengthen the middle class. Like, so you would do good things because they're good? Like, yeah, we know. Wait, that's... What? You know, at times like this, you would usually make a reference to your platform on your website, but you know how that go, right?
aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people. I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
Yep. So y'all heard that, right? Unburdened by what it's been. That's basically what you're gonna do on day one. I do not know what does Donald Trump have to do about the question of what are you going to do on day one? Well, you know, something about what I'm going to do is I'm going to instill hope in the hopeless so that hopefully they will see that we can be thankful even if we are not thankfully. We can still be fully thankful. And if we reinstill that thankfulness, then the middle class will then reemerge from up under what they had been submerged from. You get what I'm saying? And Trump took that away from us. What the? Yeah. This is why they kept away from the camera, guys.
Really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
Well, if you've already laid out a bunch of proposals, why don't you talk about the proposals? She literally is asking you a question. What are you going to do day one? Not like you don't even have to tell her what you're going to do every day. You don't have to tell her about what you're going to do for 4 years. Just day one. Give me one proposal. Just give me one. It's times like this that a candidate would reference their website. But once again, y'all know how that goes with Kamala. Can't do that.
Which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family.
I just want to say really quick, that's hard to do. I just want to be clear about that. That's a very hard, because that's not really up to her at all. It's up to Congress. And that would have to be included in a massive bill. There wouldn't be a separate bill for that. In the eyes of the Democrats, winning back the House and the Senate is like slim to none. But beyond that, we also know that not everybody qualifies for the child tax credit. And there are some people in certain tax brackets that they fit in that very, very uncomfortable middle. You know, the place where somehow all the rich people get to escape paying taxes, and you as an upper middle class person, you know, presumably are actually paying more because you and your wife both have to work to support your family. And that really isn't, and if you work a W-2 job, that isn't really considered when you're filing your taxes. They don't give a damn. They're looking at how much money you made. Okay, cool, give me. But also you made too much for help. So good luck going forward, man. Not everybody even qualifies for that. Okay? And also, people need more than a goddamn child tax credit. They need a good damn job, and they need to work in an economy that works for them. That temporary, like buy a car seat. Did you just say you're gonna fix the middle class by helping parents buy a fucking car seat? Y'all know that $6,000 wouldn't even cover the hospital bill for having the baby. Y'all are aware of that, right? But we're gonna let her talk. Let me get this super chat real quick. Niko, you could be Kamala's speechwriter. Maybe you are. Maybe I've been sabotaging her campaign from the inside this whole time. Cause, oh no, if I wrote Kamala's speeches, she would be. Actually, she would probably be AOC, unfortunately, but you know.
Around a
Notice that because no progressives are helping AOC now, none of the credible, experienced progressives that helped her bolster herself into this position. Like now she sounds like a goddamn blithering idiot all the time. It's not a coincidence. Kamala has never had anybody competent helping her, apparently, which also explains a lot. Let's continue.
Affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit's one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this.
That's not how poverty works. Jesus Christ, I can't stand that shit. Also, inspire Americans of what they can be. What the fuck did... Sorry, I'm trying to calm down with the cussing, y'all. Because I don't want my kids to pick it up accidentally. They can't understand. Well, he can, but, you know. I'm trying to stop cussing. But Kamala and these motherfuckers make it so hard. Because what does that even mean? Well, you know, I agree with the parent. I agree with the vice president on sharing the values of, you know, fulfilling the potential of what we can be. What did that mean? It's like satire. This is how people talk when they're making fun of politicians, except for they're dead ass serious. Also, that's not how child poverty works. And I'm pretty sure that almost everybody in the country who may have even benefited from the child tax credit the last time y'all passed that shit are fully aware that's not how child poverty works because they're starving for food right now and can't afford to buy groceries. Y'all didn't cut shit by 1/3. And it is disingenuous to say that by giving back the money that you took from them, from their taxes, that they paid into with this system, that somehow you're cutting the poverty. And like, that doesn't make any sense. You're just giving them back what the hell you took from them. The wages are still the same. Jesus Christ. Sorry, that child tax credit talking point is just so dumb.
Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump.
So here what we're going to talk about real quick. So I want to be clear about something. Donald Trump did pass Operation Warp Speed. So that was stupid. He shouldn't have did it. He should be held accountable for it. But on the flip side of that, wasn't it the Democrats that introduced the CARES Act? Wasn't that the largest transfer of wealth from the bottom 99% to the top 1% in the history of the world? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And wasn't Kamala Harris a senator who voted for the CARES Act? Wow. You know, because they're blaming Donald Trump. Democrats were in power too. And Democrats were fighting like hell to get the CARES Act passed, if y'all recall. And it was only people like Thomas Massey and I want to say Tulsi at the time who were like, nah, we can't sign this shit. This is crazy. This is just giving a bunch of rich people money. It's not going to help the economy at all. Yeah, but, and it was like, I don't remember, I think it was a CARES Act. Well, I think it was both. There was a CARES Act and there was a subsequent one that Trump tried to fight because he was exposing the fact that they were just trying to give a bunch of military money to foreign governments for the most part and transfer more wealth from the bottom 99% into the top 1%. And they overrided Trump's veto after he sent it back to the House. Trump didn't force the economy to close. He put that in the hands of individual states, if we're being clear. Which I 100% believe was the right thing to do. How your governor handled it basically determined how your state fared. New York did not handle it well, California did not handle it well, and they're still dealing with the consequences. Florida handled it so well, unfortunately, at this point. Everybody moved there, so now it's shit. It's so expensive to live there. Nobody wanted to live there. Everybody complained about Florida, and now everybody lives in Florida because of how well the pandemic response was. It was handled on a case-by-case basis. And that's probably one of the few good things that Ron DeSantis did while being governor. So that economy being destroyed was because of a pandemic response, not by Donald Trump, but by the legislators who were put in charge of handling the distribution of aid that came because of the pandemic. The pandemic that forced a lot of places to close down that wasn't necessary. And a lot of those places were in primarily what? Democratic cities. And those cities, unfortunately for the country, also happen to be the most powerful well, they were, but they're the most influential economic cities in the country. And they were shut down by Democrats. So, I mean, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it all, it was y'all's pandemic response and the fact that y'all weren't feeding money into the economy like you normally would because of this cult of personality. And y'all Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci, told y'all to shut down. And we all, as a country, face consequences. So, like, 10 million jobs was gone. Yeah, the Small Business Administration has something to do with that. The CARES Act, which was passed by Congress and the Senate, has something to do with that. That was y'all. That was Kamala. Again, she was in power and had nothing to say about how the CARES Act was transferring so much wealth to the top 1%. Let's get back to it.
Of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right.
Nah, China definitely. They just be lying. They just be lying about shit, bro. How you gonna say we recovered? We still ain't recovered.
Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing.
She's literally saying her policies are telling us what we need to do these things that she is talking about. Where? Okay, since your policy tells us what we need to do that, tell us what we need to do. Just tell us what we need to do, Kamala. You're gonna be president. You ain't thought about this shit yet. You telling me you accepted the bid to be the president of the United States, to represent the Democratic Party, and you ain't even thought about what you would do the first day when you gotta go to work? Everybody thinks about what they're gonna do for work on the first day. Like, damn, I'm gonna train today. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna dress like this. I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna make sure I get my workout in. Like, you haven't even thought about what you would do the first day, and you try to run the goddamn country. Oh, this is crazy.
My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very
So, okay, you hear how she said in the last question too, that we've recovered as an economy. We haven't. She lists reasons. She talks about groceries, bills being too high. She gives a bunch of, like, she understands that the housing market is trash. She clearly knows this. That's why she gave all those examples. And then she's like, yeah, despite the economy being so horrible, we recovered. And I'm proud of that. Recovered? Like, what do you mean recovered? Like recovered from your MCL tear, but the ACL is still torn? Like, I'm confused. You recovered from the flu, but now you got cancer? Like, cause that's what it is. I don't know what you're talking about as far as the economy recovering. If the economy was recovered, then why did the report just come out talking about how y'all misreported jobs? And how unemployment is trash? And how people are laying off, or companies are laying off people in mass? Yeah. Recovered from what? Where? The U.S. economy is doing so bad that the rest of the world is suffering because of it. And it's partially because of our foreign policy too, which we'll get into in a second. Oh, hold on. Let me read these super chats. Eric Husso, appreciate you. Vote for Kamala because she would bring joy to poverty. Oh, shit. Yeah. Real talk. She's full of joy. Aren't you glad there's a black woman boss while you're, sleeping in a tent, Californians? Janice Anderson, the census basis poverty line on 1963 food prices. I did not know that, but it makes a lot of sense. The difference between Democrats and Republicans is that one may promise you a reach around. Yeah, they might promise you one, but they ain't gonna give it to you. That's a difference, basically.
Proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia.
To be fair, he actually did try to do that, and the Democrats just kind of stopped him, along with the Republicans. So I want to be clear about that. Also, that plan to cap drug prices was also Trump's. He tried. Like, we can't pretend like he didn't try that, because he definitely did. And it's like he tried to get out of Afghanistan. Like, don't lie. But like I said, they're gonna lie about the things that Trump did, because they can't call him out for the things he did wrong that they agree with, right? The shit that he actually did wrong, like bombing Syria, or just droning in general, trying to coup Bolivia, all that good stuff. Like, they like that. They agreed with it, so they can't call him out for that. So they gotta make up stuff.
Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I just want to be clear about something. She made that story up. Because, yeah, the price for medication can vary by a few dollars. Like, that's like kind of normal. What is not normal is, I'm telling you, because I have two members of my family that take insulin, actually. My mom being one of them. I've never seen my mom's insulin is expensive, but it's never gone from like $350 to $1,200 that month. And no one told her that. There is not a single person that she talked to about their insulin that was like, yeah, my insulin this month was $250, but last month it was $1,002. No. She might have paid in totality thousands of dollars a month. Or thousands of dollars that year. But this is she's making up a story, is what I'm telling you. And this is why nobody likes her, because she's clearly disingenuous, and anyone who has any experience with any of the things that she discusses immediately knows when she's lying, which is how she always gets exposed.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business.
Why you always lying? Why you always lying? 800,000 jobs, y'all. And what did they say that they said that Kamala and Biden's numbers were off by 1 million? I feel like that math don't really math in her favor, right? Because you saying you brought back 800,000, they said, nah, you was off. Nah, you was off by 1 million, which means that's at least net zero. So y'all ain't do shit, is what you're saying. That was CNN who reported that. CNN reported that they were off by 1 million jobs that they had claimed that they added. So that's just them who said that. But hey.
Back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand.
Hey, pop quiz, everybody. Hey, has she actually answered yet? What's she gonna do the first day she gets in office? You know, we still waiting. Went to sleep, woke. I know a lot of y'all watched this last night. Went to sleep, woke up. Dana is still here, waiting for an answer. Well, right along with. Also, the economy is trash, but it's really good. But it's trash, so I'm gonna fix it, but it's really good. I need somebody later on to explain to me how exactly that works. Because at least I guess she finished it off kind of somewhat mediocre. She was like, you know, so there's still problems, but, you know, there's work to do. And it's like, then why did you call Bidenomics a success? So there's two things that could be impeding her from criticizing or telling the truth about the economy. She really doesn't understand it. That's a real possibility because Kamala's an idiot. But there also could be that she knows that the economy is actually suffering largely because of our foreign policy. We're paying the price of our foreign policy in more ways than one. But if you admit that, right? If you admit that the war in Ukraine has caused crude oil price to go up, the situation with Israel in general, just every time they cause some shit, it messes with energy prices. We are in an economic back and forth with Russia and China, and we're losing. And we're losing the BRICS. It's our disastrous foreign policy that's causing that is largely responsible for our economy being what it is. But she can't say that because that actually is more in Biden and Kamala's control than probably anything else you talked about. And you would know that, yeah, I'm not about to have 4 more years of you if you gonna do everything Biden has already done. We already seen the result. The Willie Bragg Show, dirtbag leftist. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the super chat. While I dislike Donald Trump, the fact America's worst president, George W. Bush, endorsed Kamala Harris tells me how far right-wing Democrats are now. Amen to that shit. Amen to that. That is a fact.
On some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania. Sure. Do you still?
I want you to remember her, or I want you to remember that she said that. She literally is reminding her, hey, this is a big issue in your must-win state, and I'm even leading you with your original answer from 2019. Kamala, wink, wink, must-win state of Pennsylvania, who is not really all that happy with you right now because you skipped out on making their governor the VP. So like, hey, wink, wink, Kamala, I'm gonna give you a little softball, knock it out the park. Let's see what she does.
Want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020.
Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
It's a weird thing to say, right? That she did not ban fracking as vice president. And at first I thought, like, you don't even have the power to do that, but it gets better.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall,
Black
you
one.
said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward.
Strike two. She's just throwing her softball. Hey, Kamala, I just told you, Pennsylvania, this is very, very important to them. You need this state to win. You will not win this election without this state. Yeah, but remember how you were like against it, right? Remember, right? Like you were against it. And here's a quote where you said it. So Kamala, just fucking lie, is what she's telling her. Dana is telling, just fucking lie, Kamala, lie. Do what politicians do. But we on strike two.
Forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And
Bro, what the? It's very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a serious crisis that is the climate. Bro. Just say it's important to protect it. Like, we just need to make sure that we're conscious of climate change. That's it. That's all you had to say. But words don't come to mind fast for her. Like, you can tell words don't come quickly to her. So she has to stall. Stall. Because it's hard. It's already hard enough for her to think of words extemporaneously. But she's trying to think of words that are lies. She's trying to think of a lie quick off. Like, okay, so let's be clear. Yeah, I know I'm absolutely not going to be clear about anything I'm about to say, but we're going to give it a try. So yeah, let's be clear. Anyway, so to be unburdened by what has been.
And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far.
Yeah, we were riding that shit. Oh my God.
We must do. Values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana,
Kamala Harris is just not a smart person. At a certain point, you feel bad for her. Like, are we bullying her now? Is this bullying? Is this considered bullying? I don't know. If you're running for president, is it considered like analysis or bullying? I don't know, but this is crazy. So you know, when you're trying to make a point, right? There's a logical bridge that you usually have to create to get from your claim to your conclusion, right? I'm claiming this so we can get here, right? Or to explain the conclusion. Because Dana said, you know, you were against fracking, now you're for it, okay? And she's like, nah, I'm not for fracking, but my values haven't changed on the environment, and here's how. That's her conclusion. Environmental values have not changed. Yeah, so we added 300,000 jobs to the renewable energy industry. So that shows that we can create jobs with, and do it while fracking. Bitch, what? No one made an argument that you can't create renewable energy jobs while not fracking or while fracking. No one made that argument. Who posited that? No one said that. No one. And she's just like, answer the question that no one even answered. Like, they want to know if it's possible that you can, stop fracking so they can stop having earthquakes and their environment can stop being destroyed, please. That's why it's so important to them. Because it is horrible for the environment. Absence, separate from climate change, fracking, it's in and of itself, it's bad for the environment if it is not done in a very, 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 very isolated area. It's bad for the community. And this, yeah, I mean, we can definitely frack and add jobs. What? Bro, this is comedy. It is comedy. She literally just, we can frack and add jobs. Yeah, so like, let's be clear about that. We can definitely continue to fuck up the environment while adding. She's like, yeah, we can definitely be duplicitous as hell. I don't understand what you're asking me. I can say I care about the environment while also doing the exact opposite. What's the issue? Comedy.
Excuse me. I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president.
3.
So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy
You heard that correctly.
That actually increased leases for fracking.
Yeah.
Experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And
This woman just bragged about using her tie-breaking vote to vote with Republicans. She just used her tie-break. She bragged about. You know what's crazy, yo? I feel like based on the conviction of her answer and the way that she answered, I think that when Dana said that this is an important issue, I think because Kamala's mind was still in economy and job mode, that Kamala believed that Pennsylvanians want to continue fracking. I feel like that's so. So she kept leaning more and more into that, despite the fact that Dana was trying to pull her away from that. Because, so first of all, hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find it for you. Damn, I'm gonna have to find it later. Basically, I read an article from a local Pennsylvania newspaper that said 66% of Pennsylvanians are against fracking. It's a huge deal there. It's massive. And I assume that Dana is aware of that, which is why she's like, I'm gonna give you this opportunity. Just fucking lie. Just lie. Strike, strike, strike. And Kamala out here smiling like, yeah, I just hit a home run. Yep, that was my tie-breaking vote that gave more fracking leases. Yep, that was me, guys. If I destroyed your home and your environment or, caused your family members to get cancer, that was definitely me. That was my tie-breaking vote. Dumbass. Jesus Christ.
was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
I'm trying to give you more. I'm trying to give you enough. Like, just give me something, Kamala. Look at Dana's trying her hardest.
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part one. So
That have to
Okay.
Do y'all see why? First of all, before we continue, do y'all see why they didn't want anybody to watch that interview? Can y'all that was 8 minutes. That was about 9 minutes. She literally is answering like, she's like, yeah, I saw data that show that we can grow the economy while also keeping fracking. That's not what we're talking about. What the fuck are you talking about? What is she talking about? No one is making the argument that you can't add jobs. We know you can add jobs. That's cool. It would be nice to add jobs for renewable energy while not fracking, while not destroying the environment, because that's the issue. It's like the point is completely missed upon her. Like, she doesn't even understand why we're talking about the fracking and the renewable energy. She's only thinking about it in terms of creation of jobs. It's bizarre. There's something wrong with her. She's not smart. I can't believe this woman got through law school. I'm genuinely surprised. The LSAT is a very difficult test. The bar exam is very hard too. And I'm genuinely surprised this woman even got through to this point. Because it's like lawyers are supposed to be when they have preparation, they're supposed to be some of the most talented people on the planet. That's what they're known for, right? It's what their job is. Especially if you become an AG, if you're a prosecutor, like, you're supposed to be good when you have time to prepare. You had a week to prepare for this interview, people. She had a whole week, at least, right? More than that, really. But we'll give her a week since they planned it. And this is what they came up with. And they claim that this was live. I don't believe it.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. Mm-hmm. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S.
Bro,
During the Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah. Look at her face whenever she said this shit. Like, she said, it's like,
causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central.
She like, yeah, I know the northern part of Central America. Why don't you just say the border in Latin America, the Latin American border? The northern part of Central America. Yeah, I know. We learned that in Canada school. She was so proud of that shit, bro. Like she worked all week to study to know where Mexico was. Oh my God, let's continue. That shit was so funny.
Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. Mm-hmm. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that...
Hold up. Okay, I'm going to the chat. Because maybe I could be wrong. I could just be dumb. I don't know. I could be. What did she say? What was her response? What did she mean by that? She said the work that we've done has led to businesses starting in the area, and there are less, which is not true. There are not less immigrants coming there. I can tell you that. That's just not true. Probably there's been an influx given what happened recently between Venezuela and Bolivia. Bolivia, Argentina, definitely. I'm sure there's a huge impact. And Haiti, at least those countries. So that's probably not true. But what the hell was her answer? What was that? I can't be that stupid. I am flabbergasted. I am befuddled. We gotta hear that again.
Restrictions.
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our.
You know what? I figured out what it is. You know what? I figured out what annoys me about the way she talks. I mean, there's a lot of things that annoy me outside of her voice, but there's something very specific. Kamala talks as if she is narrating the setting of a screenplay to you, right? Like, it's like she's setting the stage before the actors come on and start actually doing whatever they're supposed to be doing. She's like, yeah, so I, as vice president, worked with members, okay, of the United States Congress, right? And then this issue that is immigration and it's very significant. The immigration issue is very significant to everybody. We work to create solutions for that issue. All right, go. Like she's telling you, like, what? Why are you talking like that? It's fucking weird. It's like, yo, yeah, the president and I work with Congress to introduce legislation. What's so hard about saying that? The president and I work with Congress to introduce legislation. We know that if you worked with Congress, you had to work with members of Congress to do it. Like, what the? Holy shit. This is crazy. I can't believe that this is a candidate for the United States of America.
Security, which is the border.
And she doesn't have
through
dementia.
bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed.
Which we supported, which I support. Yeah, if you said we supported, bitch, we know we includes you. Why are you talking like this? It's so wild. That is what annoys me. It's like she's talking like she's narrating something.
To securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill.
I want to be clear about something. Joe Biden and Kamala gave more money to Border Patrol, and ICE specifically, than Donald Trump did. And the funds were specifically listed as discretionary funds. In other words, they just gave them a blank check, $1 billion. Okay? I want to be clear about that. So just, because I am aware that there have been people being busted in, right? I'm aware of that. I know people who have experienced it. Cool. But I also want to be clear that all that shit that really I would say both Donald Trump and Kamala and Biden, all that shit they be talking about the border one form or another, because it depends on who they're in front of. It's kind of like China, right? It depends on who they're in front of and what the topic is, based off of what spin they're going to give you about the crisis at the border, because there is indeed a border crisis. But we know what the root cause is. We know that the root cause is foreign policy, but there's also something more nefarious at play. Because every administration, Democratic or Republican, seems to be in a race to give ICE these so-called discretionary funds. And yet there still seems to be a crisis. It's kind of like, oh man, everybody talks about human trafficking. It's worse and worse and worse, but no one does anything about it. How Epstein could get, prosecuted. How Ghislaine Maxwell can get prosecuted, found guilty. And then no one asks, well, hold on, what about the names of the men that they were selling these kids to, right? It's like that. In other words, there is a crisis. The crisis is manufactured by both parties because they profit off of it in both legitimate and illegitimate ways. And ICE is probably the largest human trafficker in the world. They got caught under Trump's presidency running a human trafficking ring out of Georgia. And then everybody they just swept the story under the rug. So bragging about giving ICE or Border Patrol more money, giving them more civilians, and they even sent National Guard down there. That's not going to solve the situation. And I can tell you, I just left Juarez, Texas, just a couple months back. You know what the biggest problem is? There are people, so there's a lot of people in Juarez because it's a border town. It's a border town. The border's El Paso. There are a lot of people in El Paso who have Mexican citizenship, even though they're American. A lot of them choose to live in Juarez instead of living in the El Paso side. Do you know why? Because the Mexican border side is actually safer. Because cartels don't have the green light to operate on the side of the Mexican border that they have to operate with the aid of ICE, Border Patrol, and the police and the federal government of the United States on the El Paso side. They can't do what they do in Mexico like they do it. And bro, my godson showed me a damn a cartel house near his neighbor. I mean, it's massive. They got every type of, they got 2-3 G-Wagons, 2-3 Hellcats, a Lamborghini. Like, bro, it was crazy. Like, okay, it's clearly a cartel house. And they all, I'm like, what? I'm like, why would they live here? Because they are protected in the U.S. If they are caught in Mexico, it's a problem. If they're caught in the U.S., at least the ones that, are doing business with the U.S., if they're caught in the U.S., you know how that go. They just gonna get let go. The government is in on it, is basically what I'm saying. So that's why the solutions never really get addressed, because they talk about the root cause. We know what the root cause is as far as foreign policy is concerned. But then it's taken a step further where nefarious entities take advantage. They become board members of these detention centers, forcing kids into these detention centers, getting paid. In the case of Homestead, for example, it's $177 per day per child. They know that they can't get in contact with whoever they got separated from or a lawyer because they're kids. And the person that has that person that got taken away from them, for whatever random reason it may be, that was made up, doesn't have a phone number. And the kid doesn't know where they are, and so the parent or the guardian has to do whatever they can to find the kid and hope that they can find them. How many kids and women do you believe get lost? How many do you believe fall through the cracks during that process? It is part of the grander problem of human trafficking that is spurring this immigration crisis. And there are other elements, obviously, that are part of it too, but it's largely about that. There is a crisis, and the crisis is being propagated by both parties, despite what they would have you believe.
And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill.
That bill would have helped us. What? Come on, bro.
Seizures of fentanyl. Ask any. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any.
First of all, I just want to let y'all know something. When someone has drugs, the U.S., especially highly illegal drugs in large amounts, we actually have a criminal justice system that already allows federal and local authorities to seize those drugs from that individual. There was no legislation that she could pass that they literally wrote in there. And now you can actually seize more fentanyl. We've lifted the limit of fentanyl and other drugs that you can confiscate. What does she be talking about? Yeah, we can actually they can do their jobs now. Fentanyl was already illegal. It's already illegal. What are you talking about?
community in America that has been
Oh,
devastated
Jesus.
by fentanyl, what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about
She did it again. I'm sorry, y'all. Now my ADHD's kicked in. I'm gonna hear it every fucking time. It's gonna bother the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie. She did it again. She's like, not only am I gonna push it, I'm gonna make sure that it arrives at my desk and sign it. Bitch, if you signed it, we know it arrived at your desk. You don't have to give us the pre-writing before you give us the essay. Just tell us what it is. No, I'm gonna arrive at my desk and then I'm gonna pull out a pen. I'm gonna make sure the pen is black. I'm gonna do a little test on my hand to make sure it's working. And then I'm gonna sign it. And then I'm gonna look at my signature to make sure that I did it right. And then I'm gonna have the paper. I'm like, what the fuck? Stop doing it. I hate it. Oh, Jesus. It reminds me of my kids. You know how kids take the long way to tell you what the hell they want? Oh, Jesus, that's exactly what it is.
something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served.
I would actually like to see the information on that, because I really want to know if she actually did prosecute successfully a transnational criminal organization. I would really like to see that, and why. And also, I would want to know why she hasn't talked about it before. Right? Because like, if you've actually done that, and you have a history of prosecuting cartels, you would think that's like almost like a like it's like the opposite of a double-edged sword, because the fear mongering that comes with immigration is usually the threat and the fear of the cartel. That's usually what Trump even focuses on. And no one would really get upset at you, even if they are liberal leftists, for you using your prosecutorial power to prosecute successfully cartels that are bringing drugs and guns into the community. No one. So if you have done that, why have you never talked about that? Because I can almost guarantee if I go and look it up, it's probably not a thing. She probably never did that. She probably talked about it a lot. She probably threatened it a lot, because that's what you have to do when you're running for office. But I can almost guarantee, as the Attorney General of California, she hasn't prosecuted any cartels, at least not successfully. Maybe some slaps on the wrist. She might have prosecuted members, like one or two members from a cartel, like throwaways, foot soldiers. But like, I guarantee she hasn't prosecuted. She hasn't done any RICO cases on a transnational cartel. That's insane. We would have known about that. And as far as criminalizing the border, I actually don't agree with criminalizing the border. I believe because the U.S. specifically, I believe borders should be a civil issue. In other words, you should not be able to do jail time for crossing the border, because we have an inherently racist and discriminatory refugee selection process. I think that most of you all know, generally, we will only consider somebody a refugee depending on which country they're coming from, the skin tone, and if they were on this. Do you support the regime that we supported, or are you against the regime that we supported? And then, of course, if you were actually from a country that the United States is ravaging, you 9 times out of 10 will not get accepted as a refugee. I mean, like if you're like are just running, and it's not because we overthrew somebody, it's because we're just destroying your country, which happens all the time. But like in the case of Venezuela, right? They always are granting refugee status to random white Venezuelans because they're claiming, oh, we're hiding from Maduro, and they let them and they give them the status. When really, in reality, there's nothing for them to hide from. But it guarantees that until their citizenship or their residency is done, that they're protected by the U.S. government. And it helps, and of course, it helps foment the sentiments, the anti-Maduro, anti-Evo Morales, at the time, anti-Castro sentiments that they wanted to foment in the United States at the time. So I don't believe that people who are seeking refuge should be criminally charged. I believe that at some point they should go through a process to become recognized, because most of them are paying taxes anyway. Also, you don't want them to be taken advantage of. Being recognized by the government should want them to be recognized too, right? Because you want to be able to actually make sure that they're not doing nothing dumb. You want to be able to be accountable for them, and the government should create a process where the fuck that's possible, because that's the problem. That is the problem. The issue is it's too damn difficult to apply for citizenship or residency. I know somebody who literally, it took 20 years. The husband got his citizenship for some reason in 5 years. And they were married the entire time. Got his citizenship in 5 years. The mom, it took 20 years. Started their process at the exact same time. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's part, and luckily this is because of dad, got his citizenship so early, he was able to get a good job, and they could afford the lawyers in the process. The majority of people can't, because obviously if you're running from somewhere and you don't get refugee status, the likelihood of you getting a job that you can afford to pay for the legal fees that come with the citizenship is little to none. So how are you going to become a legal citizen, a documented citizen, if it is almost impossible? The process is damn near impossible for you to do by yourself, and it's still difficult and expensive to do with a lawyer. Maybe because you got to figure out, what is it about? Is it really about protecting the border? Is it really about accountability? Making sure that you're accountable for your citizens? Is it really about following the law? Because if it's about all those things, then you would make the process clear and transparent. And you would also stop doing so many things overseas that are forcing people to want to leave their home.
Served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and
It's kind of weird how she just hasn't been asked about the border wall yet, but her values haven't changed, though, even though she changed the shit out of that value when she decided to endorse Trump's policy. The policy that she ravaged against and called racist while she was in the U.S. Senate, by the way. Just saying. I don't really support the wall, because also the wall is a dumbass idea. But whatever. My point is, she's lying. Her value. We don't know what her values are. There's a reason they call her comma, chameleon. Because her values change with her outfits.
I've worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction.
Oh my God, she did it again. She did it again. She did it again.
Urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
Ladies and gentlemen, what other way would you hold yourself to a deadline? And around what else do you hold a deadline to? Around what else? Do you hold a deadline around a metric, like a unit of liters or grams or kilograms, yards, parsecs? For my Star Wars nerds out there, what the fuck did she really just say? We gotta hold ourselves to strict deadlines around time. Why? So, yo, this shit's gonna bother me for the rest of the election now, because now I figured out what it is, and I'm never gonna be able to let it go. It's so bad. Is this not bothering anybody else? Is it just me? Okay, I'm gonna shut up then. I'm gonna shut up. Because this shit is killing me. It's like a nail on a chalkboard.
We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is...
Hey, question for somebody who has a free hand in the chat, because it'll be easier for y'all to do it, because my search engine in Brazil is not as reliable as y'all could probably imagine, given everything that's going on. If y'all can, just find me a link, if you can, anywhere, of Kamala prosecuting a transnational criminal cartel from Central South America. I would love to read about that. Because the odds are, like, knowing Kamala the way we do, she's more likely to help the cartel get off, right? Than to actually prosecute them. So if anybody can find that information for me while we're doing this, I'm gonna look for it after, because I'm really curious about that shit now. It's bothering me. Because that just, she said it more than once, and I'm thinking to myself, like, that's a pretty big deal, right? I'm pretty sure y'all feel the same way. If you could have used that, you would have used that. You had a whole presidential election before this. In a whole primary process before this, where immigration was a central focus of the issue. To such a degree, Beto O'Rourke started speaking Spanish. That shit was wild. Yep, we all remember it. I was there. So why didn't you bring it up before? Probably because it never fucking happened, whatever.
Traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus. And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone in mind?
Yes, I would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so
You think that she's already known what Republican she wants to elect to her cabinet? She doesn't have a single policy listed on her website, Dana. She just told you she don't even know what she would do the first day. Look. Kamala literally giggles at the idea of putting her neocon allies in power. Giggles at the idea. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for me to put my George W. Bush, my John McCain in power. But to be fair, I'm sure she's already grown accustomed, because for the last 4 years, she's been working with one of the most notable neocons in history. So, like, for her, it'd just be like another Tuesday, right? Like, I don't know if she would know how to get along without working beside a neocon in her cabinet. So I guess, like, from that perspective, I can't really blame her. But that's just wild to me that she actually, like, that, once again, that's like a setup question. But the narrative has been you can't work with Republicans at all. That's the way they, at least liberals, we know how they set it up. You can't work with Republicans, except for when George W. Bush, the fucking genocidal maniac who started multiple wars based on complete and total lies, except for when he wants to come out and endorse you because he hates Trump. Well, we love those kind of neocons. We love the John McCains. But the other kind, what do you mean the other kind? Those are the same kind. Like, they all like the same wars. Nah, we don't like them. Cause like, was Trump worse than Bush? I don't think that that's the case, actually. I don't think that Trump was worse than Bush. Trump was a problem. Trump was not Bush. Trump was not George Bush was trash. He was a horrible president. Horrible. And they're okay with Bush speaking at the Democratic National Convention. And now they're trying to get, Kamala to recruit Republicans, because that's what Democrats always do. They say they hate Republicans until election time come around. They be like, we don't need progressive votes. Why? Because we gonna get them neocons, baby boy. We ain't worried about y'all leftists, with y'all people with morals and values and pathos and ethos. We ain't worried about that shit. We gonna get us some good old neocons who already agree with us. And they confident too. That's the sad part. It's partially true.
I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American.
Everybody knows prosecutors are all about their advocacy for diversity of opinion.
Public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Hey, y'all know this is the same woman who was screaming at Palestinian protesters the other day? It's my time to speak. I'm speaking. Diversity of opinion, Kamala, right? I'm speaking. Yo, genocide. You think we care about your genocide? Why? Moi, Madame Vice Presidente, is talking? Your genocide can hold up there a bit there, bud. How about that? It's selfish. Yeah, okay.
I want to ask.
Diversity of opinion, because we know there were like 3 or 4 Palestinians that spoke at the Democratic National Convention because she wanted to make sure that there was a diverse opinion on what is taking place in Gaza right now, right? We know that she's always welcome that.
Ask you.
What did Sabby say the other day? He said, boy, Sabby said that Kamala treats the pro-Palestine movement like the side chick, basically. She don't talk to him behind closed doors. She be creeping like TLC. And then be saber rattling for Israel out loud. But then, baby, I gotta take the wife out, man. I gotta maintain appearances. I got you, baby. Don't worry about it. I got you. Just because my love is silent don't mean my love ain't strong.
About your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
I want to be clear. First of all, he said something like that, but he didn't say he didn't say she turned black for political purposes. He said that for her entire career that I've known her and known of her, and everybody who's known of her, she's always associated herself as being Indian. That is a person who lives in both New York and California, does real estate in both states quite often. And Kamala has been well known in both the political and celebrity scenes for more than one reason. We can get into that right now. What he said was she's just black out of nowhere. Like now she's referring to herself as black out of nowhere. And it was a surprise to him. And I want to be clear, it was a surprise to a lot of people. Trump is your drunk uncle at the barbecue who's just gonna say whatever the hell he felt because he had one too many Busch Lights, and we're still trying to understand how he even got drunk off of drinking Busch Light, but that's a different conversation for a different day. My point is, just because he said out loud what a lot of people have felt doesn't make it wrong. It might be brash in the way that he said it, but once again, it is true. You look up how she referred to herself in the past versus how she refers to herself now, it could be perceived by anyone who had known her previously as being quote unquote out of nowhere. I could understand how you would come to that conclusion. Especially because you won't stop talking about it and everybody that they interview talks about it and they have all these black celebrities come out of fucking nowhere to advocate for her when that was never the case when she was running for Attorney General or DA or U.S. Senate. So yeah, I feel like that's a perfectly fine conversation to have if that's genuinely his opinion, or not really genuinely his opinion, but rather his perspective. Because a lot of people feel like that. It ain't just Republicans, and it isn't just people who don't like her. It's people who don't know her. They're like, what the fuck?
Identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Same old tired playbook. How is it same old tired playbook? No one has. How is it he didn't run against her? You weren't claiming to be black, really, or leaning into your blackness until you decided to announce your candidacy on Martin Luther King Day in 2019, which is, once again, one of the most bizarre, self-important, obnoxious things I've ever seen any black politician do. That's wild shit, to make Martin Luther King's Day about you. But nonetheless, it is not the same old playbook. Why won't you address it? Just address it. What? You've been leaning into your blackness this entire time. You've been having people argue for hours on all mainstream, on YouTube, Twitter. People have been arguing for your blackness that you have been trying to throw in our fucking face, and your campaign has been trying to throw in our face. You know, black joy. You know, it's fun. It's cool to have a black girl boss. Right? Okay, make your argument. Here it is. You could have taken him down. You could have made him look foolish. You could have told us about your family history. You could have used this time to tell us about your experience as a black woman. You could have won us over and made Trump look foolish at the same time. You could have referenced all the times in all the ways that you have leaned into your black experience in other elections. It didn't happen, but I'm just saying, if it did, she could have. But Dana left the door wide open for her, is what I'm saying. Yo, take him out. This is your chance. Tell him how black you are. Tell him why you should have been in Black Panther too. Yeah, so next question. Did you just next question being black? Bro, black Republicans don't even next question a question about their blackness. Even Candace doesn't do that. I mean, she might not give you the answer that you're going to like, depending on what year it is, because, you know, it's Candace, so it could be one answer today, another answer tomorrow. But she ain't going to next question being black. Because no matter where you stand on the spectrum of blackness, if you have genuinely had that experience, you have something to say about your blackness, your experience as a black person, and the experience that you've had with other black people, or your perception of that experience. You never just pass, because why? It's an easy question to answer. I am black. If you live in it every day, there's not really anything that's not hard to answer. But when your whole image of blackness is a facade that has been put together by a campaign PR team who is probably predominantly white, to be honest with you, because like I said last time, there's no way that a black campaign staffer or strategist suggested that Kamala announced on Martin Luther King Day. There's no way. No goddamn way. So I don't know. It might be a group of white people, probably. But my point is that if you're black, you just answer the question. You can laugh at it, but just answer it. But when it's a facade and you're like, damn, I don't remember what kind of black I'm supposed to be today. I don't want to accidentally tell people that I was listening to Tupac while smoking weed in my college dorm again. I don't want to tell people that my favorite rapper who is dead, or excuse me, who is still alive is Tupac, because that's what Kamala said. Like, she doesn't want to say something that she knows will be clipped and picked up by the black community, and specifically black Twitter, and go viral. So she literally passed on a question about her blackness. Ladies and gentlemen, call me shallow, call me superficial, call me whatever the fuck you want to. But that tells me everything I need to know. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of black political commentators a lot of black pundits and influencers, they are going to clip that shit. They are. Because if they feel like me, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they talk about the fact that Kamala had a chance to tell us who she is as a black woman? Because every black person has their own black experience. That's a thing. Black people are not monolithic, but your experience is in large part influenced by the perception of your skin tone and the way that influences interactions around you. Because it is what it is. It's reality. That's life we live. And the fact that she would not answer that, the fact, like, no, bitch, you can raise money off of this. You raising money off of being black, but you can't talk about being black. That lets you know everything you need to know about her. Like, almost as if she didn't have the experience, which is why she's scared to talk about it. Because she's like, they're telling the truth, you know? Because she's talking about the same old Tyre playbook. No, that was not the Tyre playbook. No one, like, there might have been people who joked about that in the political, in the influencer community back in the day. But as far as, because they're talking about it in the context of Trump. Trump never went head to head with her. There was never a conversation about that. Even when he was running against Joe Biden, he never really discussed her blackness. Because it was like, she's kind of irrelevant. Let me read these super chats and we're going to finish up this segment. That shit's just crazy to me. I just can't believe that. Like, you had an open door to talk about your blackness and you just can't do it. Who the fuck, who cannot, I'm trying to figure out what black person just doesn't know how to talk about them being black. Like, yeah. I'm black. These are my experiences. It's a super fucking easy thing to do. Eric Husso, I did not and will not ban cackling as president. Facts, right? Oh, Jesus. I talked about her imposter syndrome. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I talked about her imposter syndrome on Twitter. I'll read it to y'all. Chris C., thank you very much for the super chat. A big reason why I call her Bombula and Scamala. Sparky, thank you for the super chat. Kamala took the oral version of the bar exam. Oh my God. Was that a double entendre? The oral version of the bar exam? Oh, this man Sparky dropping bars out here, cuz. Eric Husso, thank you very much for the super chat. If Kamala is black, she must have hot sauce in her purse. I learned that from Hillary, from HRC. First of all, I did bring hot sauce to Brazil with me in case I couldn't find any when I got here. So I just want everybody to know, like, Hillary's, attempt to pander wasn't totally foundationalized in nothing. We do like hot sauce. I ain't gonna lie to you. We need some flavor. Because I show it, and it's funny because I brought tapatio because they don't have tapatio in Brazil, but that's my favorite hot sauce. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I was like, nah, I can't. I don't know what they about to be cooking down there, but I know what I'm about to be putting on top of it. Oh, man. Let's go ahead and get back to it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with...
I know she did not just say Joe Biden's been trying to end the war between... Boy, she tried to, that she one of the number one assets for she's a Hasbro asset for sure. She's definitely like on the Mossad payroll. Because even whenever the rest of CNN was actually coming out against Biden, Dana Bash was just not having it. So we know how this is gonna go.
With you, would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some
also,
U.S.
I just
weapons?
Be clear, y'all notice how she said trying to end the war between Israel and Hamas? You notice that she said that? That was deliberate. I just want everybody to be aware. That was deliberate. She didn't want to say the war between Israel and Palestine, because one, it's not a war, it's genocide. But two, she didn't want to say in the Israeli operation in Gaza, none of that. It was the war, implying that the people that are dying are mostly those fighting in a war that implies both sides stand an equal chance of winning. When really that, maybe if both sides are being equally supplied weapons and money, but we know that's not the case. One side is being given literally everything to squash the other side. And she's like, yeah, Joe Biden's definitely doing whatever he can on vacation again for the 30th time in 2 months to end this war. For the lies, bro.
Between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not.
She did it again. Anyway, we ain't gonna do it. We ain't gonna do it. She did it again, but we ain't gonna do it. Anyway. Yeah. So we don't really know any policies that she plans on passing, really, right? Like that she can actually pass. But we do know that she's definitely gonna make sure that Israel keeps getting our money and weapons. So far, she's basically explained to us how she's going to give a child tax credit because not everybody qualifies for it, but she's going to give us a child tax credit and that's only for people who first have kids, the first time they have kids, right? By taking your money and giving it back to you and claiming that you're going in poverty that way, and because you paid for the tax credit, like you get taxes taken out of your shit every time you work. Okay. Anyway, and then she's also telling you how she's going to take more of your money and send it to Israel, and then so that they can then pay Lockheed Martin and friends to bomb children. Oh, and have free healthcare, which you don't have, and she's not going to give you. That's a hell of a policy platform so far, huh? Work around the clock for a ceasefire.
Not going to change. But
round the clock.
Let's take a step back. October 7th. 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival.
A music festival that was moved to that area knowing how dangerous it would be after the IDF chose to move it there. And young people that were massacred at that music festival, because whenever the IDF was called and told that the attack had started, they told those young people at the Nova Festival to fend for themselves. So if you want to point fingers at somebody, maybe start pointing at Israel. I'm just saying. But instead of pointing fingers at them and holding them accountable for the deaths that they did take part in, which damn near, because that 1,200 number we don't even know is real, but we do know from the numbers that we can confirm that almost half of the Israelis were killed by Israel through the Hannibal Directive.
Women were horribly raped.
There's not really any other way to rape somebody. It's always horrible, first of all. So, and second of all, really, you here to push this lie? We gonna do this again? So you got the audacity to talk about your support for Israel because of sexual assault that it has never been confirmed and is often, and really in most ways, been debunked. Whenever Israel is literally going on there's a guy who just became a celebrity because he was an IDF soldier who raped Palestinian prisoner, and now he thought he had to wear a mask, and he realized, oh shit, Israel's culture is way more fucked up than I thought. I gotta take off his mask, do a TikTok video, and go on a TV tour and become a celebrity. And Kamala has nothing to say about that. And that's just the most recent instance. There's another instance where a prison got caught doing mass rapes of Palestinians. Kamala, Dana, nowhere to be found. Because remember, during that interview with Dana Bash and Pramila Jayapal, where Dana was like, well, you know, there might be a lot of Palestinians dying, but at least IDF soldiers aren't mass raping women, more mass raping in general. Yeah, they are, though. What are you talking about? And then they justify it. And then the politicians celebrate it and justify it. And they get rewarded for it. And now you become a celebrity. What are you talking about? And they still pushing this. You know why? Because they're letting you know that they value certain lives. They value certain chastity. They value certain autonomy over others. That's just the reality of it.
As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
Yeah, they did have a right to defend themselves. So why the fuck didn't they defend themselves? They were too busy killing other Israelis. They were too busy bombing Israeli houses. You knew about this attack actually months in advance, at least. But hours also, that the day of, they knew. Hours. In fact, they moved the Nova Music Festival despite having information in advance that the attack was going to happen. You had a right to defend yourself, which they really don't, technically speaking. It's an occupation. They don't have the right. But let's just say for the sake of the argument, they had a right to defend themselves. They could have defended themselves. They have the weapons and the intelligence to defend themselves. Why didn't they defend themselves then? And then why did that subsequently lead to them killing everybody afterwards? You can't be like, we got a right to defend ourselves. Okay, then defend yourself. And you don't go hunt somebody down after you defend yourself. If you defended yourself. I've already defended myself. I don't have to go hunt this person down now. But they didn't defend themselves. They blamed every Palestinian in Gaza for them not defending themselves despite having the information to do so. And then wage a genocide in Gaza and in the West Bank now. And be like, yeah, man, but it's because we got the right to defend ourselves. How did your vengeance and defense from Hamas in Gaza end up in the fucking West Bank? And why is Miss Kamala, I'm working around the clock on the ceasefire Harris, saying nothing about the offensive that's taking place in the West Bank, where the foreign minister has made it very clear that they are going to do in the West Bank what they're doing in Gaza, and they are going to evacuate everybody. He's already made that clear. Why has he talked about the 500 Palestinians that died in the West Bank that have nothing to do with Gaza since October 7th started? Boy, don't give me, y'all know, it's Palestine. Don't get me started.
And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. Mm-hmm. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
And in the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at...
She's like, no, we got to get a deal done. Well, don't you think one of the best ways to get a deal done would be to, I don't know, stop giving money to the party that's genociding them? No, but Dana, look, we got to get a deal done. Yeah, but then shouldn't somebody stop shooting? Because like that's the crazy shit about a ceasefire, right? Both sides have to have weapons for the firing to continue. And if you stop giving the weapons to one of the sides, then you increase the likelihood of a ceasefire occurring. Because I can't cease firing if the other side keeps firing at me. So you would incentivize them to stop fucking firing if you stop giving them the weapons to fire. And you're like, nah. But we're going to get a deal done, though, for sure. And even though we know that our weapons are literally being used to bomb hostages, the Israeli hostages that we claim we want to rescue, we're going to keep giving them the weapons. Why? Because it's the United States of Israel. And even against the U.S.'s own interests, they will continue to fight. I'm telling y'all, bro, it's about to get popping. Y'all think that... I said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. It's going to get popping, and Russia and Iran are about to set this bitch off. And the U.S. could have stopped this. The U.S. could have stopped what's coming in the next couple of years. But United States of Israel, and this is actually what it looks like whenever there's foreign influence in your elections. When there's been a coup, and they've never even had to run for office. They never had to Juan Guaido this shit. Because they got infinite amount of money. How? Because somehow they're actually spending the money that we're sending them to pay out the politicians to send more money. Kamala sound like she took $500 million, like she took $5 million from AIPAC. She talked like $5 million from them.
The significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region. A deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in October 8th, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th.
That's so crazy that she mentioned October 8th and how committed she is. Why weren't you committed to peace on October 6th or 5th or 4th or 3rd or 2022 or 2021? That once again, that's how October 7th happened. Because you should have been committed before October 8th. If y'all were committed before, y'all would have never gave the opportunity for Israel to kill its own people. Because that's, no, not basically what happened, it is what happened. I'm committed since October 8th. Yep, y'all keep doing that. That's what, it's like they want you to believe that the beef between Afghanistan, Iraq, any cells in the region, that it started after September 11th. Y'all read Osama's letter? No, it was not September 11th that sparked off that whole conflict, and it didn't start on September 10th.
To what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in equal measure the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Yeah, that was part 2. Yep, we gotta go to part 3. Like I said, y'all, if I gotta suffer, you gotta suffer with me.
Representative.
Sorry, hold on. Hold on, where'd it go? Did they already take it down? Oh. There we go.
That were perhaps unexpected. The country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools.
Somebody has been taking night classes at Kamala's School of Civic Oration. Because what? What was that? Oh boy. Once again, I said, it's like my 6-year-old, whenever he about to lie about some shit, that story is gonna be crazy every single time. Speaking of which, they're coming in right now.
And around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again, if it's not this.
Grammar? What? How do you accidentally, like, that's not lying about your stolen valor is not a grammatical error. Did you carry weapons while being deployed or not? I'm confused. That's not really there's not really anything disputable about that type of statement. Like and if that was the case, because he's been asked about this before, why didn't he just say, oh, no, I didn't mean, I meant I've carried weapons of war like that? Because technically we all have. If you've trained, then yes, technically you've carried weapons of war. Anybody who's done basic training or, anybody who's done basic training, let alone AIT, depending on what job you went to. But like, that's not something you just got caught lying, bro. Didn't that sound like he was lying? I'm just saying, I don't know. But what you're not gonna do is blame on bad grammar.
This is an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just, one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
This was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign...
Why? Hold on, I'm confused. Why is that a question? That's such a weird thing to ask him. Like, the fuck? What do I care about how Tim Walz decided to go about having kids? Ugh, that's disgusting. That's just a disgusting question. That's something I would expect her to like ask to Donald Trump. I wouldn't expect her to ask Walz that. How he decided to have kids in his goddamn business. What the hell? That's so rude.
Repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest.
Especially because like this issue, so whenever it came to the issue of Kamala having kids, because there have been, I mean, apparently some people are making, JD Vance actually is making fun of Kamala for not having kids, like biological children. Like, if you want to ask her, why have you not had kids up to this point? Or how do you feel about that? Like, if you're not going to ask her because you feel like it's sexist, why would you bring up how Tim Walz decided to have kids, like, in this interview? Is it because he's not a woman? Like, so it's okay to, come on, bro, that's disgusting. I'm sorry, like, I didn't think I'd be defending him for something on this interview, but that's just fucking weird.
For drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children? And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been...
Okay, I guess that's weird. I'm gonna have to say this twice. What the fuck? So because he was, when he was 1995, so he was 2020, well, he probably would have been what, 40s, late 30s? Because Tim's kind of old, right? How old is Tim Walz? You know, white people age different. So I can't really get... Tim Walz. I don't know how old he is. Y'all age a little bit different sometimes. I'm not gonna assume. Let me see how old he actually is. There is no way that man is only 4 years older than my mom. Y'all really do age a little bit different, y'all. Y'all gotta take care of yourselves. Make sure y'all doing y'all facial treatments, okay, every single day. I recommend Lumen. Do something, because he looks way too damn old to be his age. Hold on, let me make sure, because they don't have the actual age. They have the year if he was born, but not his actual age. Oh, he's 60, excuse me. There you go, he's 60. That man look about 72 years old. That is crazy. Wash your face, take care of yourself, guys. Don't smoke. I don't know what else to tell you. Don't live in Minnesota, I guess. I don't know. He looks old. That's an old 60. That is an old ass 60. My point is, so he would have been still in his 20s, right? If that was 1995. Right? Yeah, he was still in his 20s, I think. Turning 30. And you want to bring up something like, how do we know we can trust you you got a DUI before. Like that goes back to that. We were talking about this on the show yesterday with Nick and Rome. I don't like when the Democrats try to push this narrative. Oh, are you going to vote for a felon? Talking about Trump. Because it's not like I'm going to vote for him, but it's just what they're trying to imply. They're implying that if you've made a mistake, or at least, were found guilty, rather, by this justice system, which is not exactly the best justice system. So there's that. But if you make a mistake or are found guilty by the United States justice system, you are therefore less of a human being and less worthy or less intelligent, less trustworthy. It couldn't have just been a mistake. When we watch felons that just never get prosecuted because they got a white collar on instead of a blue collar and a construction hat, right? We see them get away with it all the time. And hell, even if they do get caught doing some felonious shit, they still end up getting treated with more respect. Even though their felons literally end up hurting thousands of people usually. It's not right for her to ask about his kid. Maybe there was a reason why he didn't want to talk about the alternative means in which he used in vitro, like IVF. Maybe it was because of the wife, and she made that decision, and therefore, as the husband, he respected that decision. Why the fuck do the public need to know about that? He could say what he wants to. It's his kids. It should not be a question that people need answered while he's running for president. If he's on the podcast, he's like talking about it, cool. But the mainstream media bring that up is disgusting. And somebody who has kids, that is disgusting. Because you never know what somebody's going through fertility-wise on either side. That's just unhuman, honestly. But also, like, bringing up his DUI, like, oh man, you got a DUI in 1995. Can we trust you to be vice president? Like, we're not gonna talk about the warmongering. We're not gonna talk about that. The Zionism, we ain't gonna talk about. Of course, you ain't gonna talk about that. But like, that's just I can't rock with it, bro. I don't like that line of questioning. And it's, in my opinion, to make it seem like she was not giving a softball interview, they just tried to throw Tim Walz under the bus, right? It's like they used him as a deflection from Kamala, and focused on the things that he lied about and made it personal. They made it personal with him, which is bizarre. And it's almost like a way, because you're not running. Nobody's making their decision on whether or not they're going to vote for Kamala as president based on you. So we can throw you under the bus and your personal life under the bus in a way that we wouldn't throw Kamala under the bus, but we can't because, she pays the bills. That shit is.
Very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so.
Okay, hold up. No, nobody's taking your right to do in vitro. Now you lost me. Now you done lost me. Here, I guess it's back to the duopoly. Back to our regularly scheduled program, ladies and gentlemen.
I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hair.
What is she? Okay, so I guess we've jumped to reproductive rights, and somehow that was in vitro fertilization was tied into that, talking about fertility. But didn't Trump just actually say that he wants to create, are you going to allocate funds for people who actually want to have kids using IVF? Didn't he say like they're gonna do that? Which I actually approve of. That's dope, bro. That is actually a really dope thing. I couldn't agree more. Maybe you not, help bring kids into a country that's like burning, pre-destruction of the empire would have been better. But I actually, if somebody wants to have kids, because of the infertility in this country, largely caused by the policies of the government and the food that they're eating and all that good stuff. I actually support that, and I don't think that it's fair that Tim Walz is claiming that Trump is trying to take IVF away or ability to use IVF away, because that's not true. Also, that would be the opposite of Republicans' belief, I would think, right? Because don't Republicans want people to have more kids? They're against abortion. That was I think that was an attempt to try to mislead people, because he just got so flustered by the fact that she asked that question. I feel like he tried to bring it back to reproductive rights to try to like deflect, but that just came out weird. Eric Huso, thank you very much for the super chat. She is really bringing the joy to this interview. Man, Eric always be killing me with the random. Oh man, it's the timing. Eric be on point with the timing. Walz is the guy we would send to go find a box of grid squares or a can of squelch for the radio. No, that's facts. That's facts. Love USA 999. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Has everybody seen the video where Venezuela gang let in by Biden and Kamala taking over an apartment building in a black neighborhood in Blue, Colorado, holding knives, rifles? Really want to vote for this. I've not seen that video, but also I don't necessarily believe everything I read on the internet. But I do believe that there were some Venezuelans probably let in by Biden and Kamala, because they did pay a bunch of people trying to overthrow that government. So, they got to go hide somewhere. And they usually invite, when Trump says that the U.S. brings the worst in, sometimes he is right about that, the ones that we allow in, because these are like the worst, most sociopathic people of society who only support the policies of people that they do support in those countries because it benefits them and they don't care who it harms. Like those are the worst kind of people. Not those who are committing random misdemeanors, maybe they take something here, steal something there because they're just trying to get by. It's the people who will literally fuck over an entire country, an entire society, so that they can make $4 and stop the other person from making $2.
Hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to
have a beautiful. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Oh, okay. So Walz doesn't know. He didn't make any sense whatsoever there. Okay.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have...
Not at all. I'm the presidential candidate. I already knew what time it was. Why would I have any regret?
Served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Now, we know goddamn well that Joe Biden, the one thing that we know for a fact that he does not have is the disposition to be president. Because if you have dementia, you shouldn't be president. I feel like that's like an obvious statement, but she put some words together. She thought she was like, all right, I'm about to hit him with some shit. And the disposition? Yeah. Fucking words with friends coming through in the clutch. It's like, no, he don't got the disposition. Out of all the things you say, that's the one thing we know for certain he does not have, which is why you took over. She said disposition. Hello, baby.
By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
Turn the page in the last decade. I need you guys to understand something. Literally half of the decade, she was half the decade that she's referring to, because I know she ain't talking about Obama. She's referring to half of the shit she did. She was there for half of it. Actually, she was there for more than half of it because she was a senator. She was a U.S. senator for a lot of this. Okay? Some of the worst stuff that Trump did, she was in on. She agreed to it. She signed off on it. Like, turn the page. Turn the page. No, I mean, turn the page if you mean like having some of the most anti-imperialist, multipolar, socially economic policies that you could possibly have. Like, yeah, but that's not what you're talking about. You want to go back to the neoliberalism, the lack of regulation, everything from the 90s that has made the 2000s so horrible. You want to go back to that. She wants to go back to the Bush years of war after war after war. War with justification of an evil villain instead of just shadow wars behind the scenes. She wants to go backwards. That's the crazy shit. I already told people so during Trump's presidency, somebody asked me that I feel like things have become more racist or less racist. I'm like, nah, nobody's become more racist to me. To be clear, at the time and to this day, I still experience more racism from people who call themselves liberals than conservatives. I want to be clear about that. The people who dog whistled and had an implicit or an explicit racial bias before that, they were the same people. They didn't really change. There had just become more conversation. No, actually, no, there weren't. Because we had more social media, there was more conversation about race. But during Obama, it was like just the opposite. It was like there was still a bunch of, not the opposite, rather. It was the opposite motivation. There was still all these conversations happening because of Obama's obvious, uniqueness as a president. So I didn't feel like we went backwards or forward outside of the fact that I felt like for the first time, we were being forced to acknowledge that some people who pretend to care about racism don't actually give a shit. That's what I feel like changed. People got exposed. For example, Charlemagne the God, like we talked about yesterday on the show. Charlemagne the God sat up there and let Joe Biden tell his entire audience that they're not black if they don't vote for him. And then we'll turn around and tell us that you're racist if you vote for Trump. Refusing to acknowledge Joe Biden was literally a segregationist. Literally a segregationist. Not just a racist, but a racist who got power and then used that power to pass policies that are represented by his racism. That kind of segregationist, an official racist, a racist with a job title, if you will. White liberals, hell, not just white liberals, white progressives. Even the progressives were getting exposed. Because whenever we, the black community, the black independent journalist community, were like, nah, we are not going to forget what Joe Biden did to us and said about us. That shit's not flying. Sorry, good luck. Whenever people like myself, Brown Joy Gray, Nick, Rome, Sab, Jay, Whenever we all were like, nah, hell no, you done lost your mind. How'd the white progressive community treat us? Like we were insane. Like we were class and race traitors. Like we hated black people. The only thing that Trump's presidency did for me as far as race is concerned was expose, well, rather enlighten me on how truthful and accurate Malcolm X was when he was talking about the white liberal. I would have never in my life thought that they were actually more racist and more deceitful in the way they go about their racism than conservatives. Because it ain't like, we know that there's overtly racist conservatives. That's not like really anything new. Like I said the other day, GOP got the easiest job in the world. Just maintain the status quo, baby. Maintain for the team. But the Democrats, that racism is the racism where they will look you in your face, tell you that they are there to help you, and will literally pass legislation with Republicans to get your ass put in jail disproportionately, to keep you from getting the house, taking out a second mortgage to start a business through redlining. They work with the overt racists after telling you you got to vote for them because the other group is overtly racist. And they work with them to fuck us over. And I did not know to what extent that was until Trump got in power and everybody was telling me we can't look at him, support him, or do anything with him. In fact, we just have to have an unwavering and illogical emotional disdain for Trump. Don't even listen to what comes out of his mouth because he's racist. Oh, okay, so we're not going to support Joe Biden. Whoa, who said we're not going to support Joe Biden? We got to support Joe Biden. Why? Because Trump is racist, but Biden's racist. Yeah, that was so long ago. No, it wasn't that long ago at all. And also, I guess you can evolve, but there's actually nothing about Biden that shows that he evolved. He kept having racist fucking slip-ups during the fucking election. So, like what? Come on, bro. But this is America. Up is down, left is right.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
Now, I just want y'all to know that this is the same Kamala Harris who gave a speech that was so hawkish at the Democratic National Convention that MSNBC was celebrating it because they just had no idea how much good old Kamala loved war. They thought that she was joyous, but they just didn't know she loves joyous war. Like war brings her joy. So it's part of the joy campaign. It isn't off brand for her. But this is that same Kamala talking about, yeah, I just don't think that we need to, beat people down. No, that's literally what you said. You every time you actually finally talk about foreign policy, it's about beating people down and not lifting the damn soul up. It's beating people down and then forgetting all the people who are being killed because of your shitty foreign policy.
That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
If just coincidentally.
And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang and it was Joe Biden.
You know what's kind of wild about that? So she's like giving you this story about how I don't know why her family was, if her family was in town, I think Maya lives there. So like, that makes sense, I guess. But like, it's just, just this so happened to be, I just got this lovely setup, for when Biden asked me to be vice president. I was being the mom, even though I'm not really, I was making breakfast for some reason. And Joe Biden called. You was just chilling, making breakfast, hanging out, about to do a puzzle. Didn't the former president just almost get assassinated like 2 days before that or some shit like that? Or a week before? Not even? Shouldn't y'all have been like trying to figure out who assassinated the former or who tried to assassinate the former president of the United States? Because I feel like that's kind of a big deal, right? Like you shouldn't just be going back to wakey, eggs and bakey as vice president when y'all are trying to figure out who just started assassinating. Because you would think that maybe your life is in danger too, potentially. Or at least Joe Biden, because he was the one running for office at the time. Like, nah. Nope, you just hanging out at home. But hey, it's crazy how she always says she's working around the clock for a ceasefire. Bro, Kamala don't work around the clock to do shit. Every time she tells us she's working around the clock, it is immediately followed by a story about how she was just not doing shit. Yeah, man, so while he called me, me, good old Kamala, working around the clock, cooking breakfast, hanging out, doing puzzles, not doing a motherfucking thing. Yeah. She don't do shit around the clock. Hell, at least we could be like, if she did interviews, we could be like, oh, damn, well, she's always available for an interview. Because there are some people like RFK during his campaign, they said that he might have clocked more interviews than anybody during this election. Like, there are some people who actually are working around the clock. Kamala is not one of them. I don't give a shit what she says she's working around the clock on. Because Jesus Christ, president almost got assassinated, and you still, or a former president, and your opponent almost got assassinated. The FBI is supposedly working on an investigation. There's a bunch of shit going on. And you should probably be out campaigning. So there's that. I mean, right? I feel like if you're trying to be the vice president of the United States again, and you see that your boss, the person that you're running with, is literally fading like goddamn leaves in autumn, you should probably be out trying to bolster his campaign, right? But it's work around the clock Harris, never doing shit. Did she know that he was about to get replaced? Maybe that's why she was cooking breakfast, waiting for her phone call.
And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest.
She didn't ask you what your first thought was. But yeah, man, you make sure you convince the world that it totally wasn't a coup. You make sure to get that point in. That's probably one of the 5 points she rehearsed that she actually got right this interview.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around it finally.
Yeah, it was transformative. It showed just how dumb the U.S. public can be. How, 85% of the black community voted for segregationists. How a woman who didn't even make it to her own state during the primary because she had to drop out so early gets selected as the vice president despite the fact that no one liked her. And how now you don't even have to run in the primary. I can just drop out and tell somebody that they're the nominee, and everybody just kind of goes along with it, despite the fact that she's the most unpopular vice president in history. Joe Biden's and he showed that what does dementia got to do with it, man? You can have dementia. Don't be a felon, apparently, but dementia? Yeah, you can definitely be president. You can do like at least 3 and 3/4 years. You can do a solid 3 and 3/4 years as president with dementia. So it was definitely transformative, just in the worst fucking possible ways that it could be considered transformative.
Investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
I just want everybody to know this is the same person who said she's going to keep giving Israel money as they violate Syria's sovereignty, Iran's sovereignty most recently, and of course, every day, the sovereignty of the Palestinian people, who are actually legally allowed to fight and defend for their sovereignty because they actually were a state and aren't, in fact, made up because somebody just said, hey, we're going to take some of your land and give it to them. So, like, and the fact that Kamala is so anti-Putin, pro-Ukraine, despite the fact that the whole reason this war is being fought is because NATO, and specifically the United States, it kept insisting on Ukraine threatening the sovereignty of Russia. And they kept being habitual line crossers. And it was because of y'all, because of you people in the executive branch. So like, no, you don't give a shit about any of that. That's the problem. So we got so many, most of the problems that we have with the economy right now can all be traced back to that lie that you just told. If you respected the sovereignty and the borders of these nations, the world wouldn't be in complete and total fucking chaos. Y'all just try to overthrow Venezuela's elections, but y'all respect borders and sovereignty. Well, then how about allow them to have the sovereignty to decide whether or not their elections were legitimate? Because if someone tried to come into our elections and tell y'all that y'all weren't legitimate, y'all would goddamn send a damn Sidewinder missile at them. They wouldn't even get a chance to send an email out. Fucking respect for sovereignty. Audacity.
And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in
He's a segregationist. That's his character.
his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
No, he literally puts his donors first. He actually said, oh man, if some donor who gave me $200,000 for my campaign wants to come see me in my office, of course I'm gonna let him in. He literally is pretty open about the fact that it's his donors over everybody. He said that. It wasn't me who said it. He was more excited to work with Republicans always during as a senator than he was to work with Democrats. He was proud of that shit. Use it as a talking point during the 2020 election to talk about how he could pull Republican voters away from Trump. I could easily be more neocon than Trump. Republicans fucking love me.
I have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional.
Are they doing this
saying,
again?
that's my dad.
Is she bringing up his kids again? Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of
I
it.
felt like it was so weird when people were attacking his son. I thought like that was weird. That was like kind of super low. I don't really believe in attacking people's kids at all. I don't like when people bring in Obama's kids. They're adults now, but actually his kids are pretty straight arrows. And straight arrows in the sense that like they actually don't like Obama's policies. Anyway, but I don't like when people bring in people's kids. Like this isn't like, even with, I don't really like when they bring in Don Jr. and shit like that, but he's involved in his dad's dealings. So like, that's kind of different. Same with Ivanka. But like genuine kids, like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're just like, they don't really, especially in this situation, like, you know, he don't know everything his dad did. Neither does his daughter. They're just proud of his dad, having a moment. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that makes his kids normal, if anything. It would be weird if they were robotic and like expecting him to be in that moment. So I didn't really appreciate how people were trying to like make fun of him. Like, if my mom did something extraordinary, I would be ugly crying too, right? Like, it is what it is. It's just weird when people go after people's kids. Like, these politicians have enough policy and character flaws themselves that you could tear down. You don't have to hold someone's kids responsible for the actions of their parents. Like, I don't like when people go after Barron. When back in the day, they used to try to go after Barron, talk about how awkward he looked and da-da-da-da. Like, bro, leave the kids out of it, dog. Even in this moment, I'm not really sure, because of how it got, used. I'm not even sure it didn't serve anybody for them to bring this up right now. Because they know it's going to be flipped, and now his kid's going to become a target or, on the internet again. That's what happens. People started justifying why they were talking shit about the kid. It was weird. Like, just don't bring up his fucking kids. Don't bring up the IVF. Don't bring up none of that. Why? Just bring up the pop. But he's running for vice president, so I don't. And Tim Walz actually has policies that they could talk about from his time in Minnesota as governor there. He wasn't the best, right? He wasn't Jesse Ventura or anything like that. But like, they have things that they can lean into with Tim Walz, and it's just bizarre to me that they keep going back to his family and making it personal. And it's like they're overcompensating because of the conversations about Kamala not really being that maternal and not having kids and all that good stuff. Like, maybe that's why they're doing it. I don't understand it, but it's just, I don't know. It's bizarre. I guess they're trying to humanize the family or humanize Kamala. It just, leave the kids out, bro. I just don't like it. I don't like it in basketball. Like, I hate the way that they put Jason Tatum's son in front of everything in the NBA to promote it. Like, first of all, because like, he's not the only fucking basketball player with kids. Like, but they just like, because they were trying to make him the face, they kept putting Jason Tatum's son, in all these NBA graphics. And it's bizarre. It's like kind of how they used to do with Steph Curry's daughter until Steph stopped it. He was like realizing like, nah, this ain't about to happen. And he took her and stopped letting her talk in front of the camera. So like, it's just weird. It's a weird thing to do, bro.
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is, talking about the era we're in, is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really.
And this is so next time somebody tries to tell you, what do you mean the liberals media tries to make it about her race? What do you mean? That's not true. Y'all make it about her race.
Does it? What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then totally I'm in the
not scripted with
front of the photograph,
totally
obviously speaking.
Like
and
SLR.
It's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot.
Because my kids' hair is always perfect right before I'm about to take an impromptu photo, and they're gonna definitely sit still and watch us. My damn 6-year-old can't watch. He can't sit there and watch me talk to him when I'm talking directly to him for fucking 2 seconds. I'm talking to him, that man looking over here. But yeah, but she's definitely gonna watch a damn Democratic National Convention speech intently. Jesus Christ. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, why did she, okay, once again, you can bring up you're running for all people. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You're American. I get it. I definitely get it. But that was the second chance that Dana brought up her race, like her opportunity to talk about her experiences and what that means to her. Because especially considering that, unfortunately, a lot of women, black women specifically, are voting for her because of what they feel it means to them. Symbolically, it doesn't actually mean anything. In reality, it actually probably means that we're going to be more screwed than we were in the past. But symbolically, it does mean something to them. Because of who Kamala and the media have portrayed her to be, which is one of them. So I would figure that you could speak to that experience, or even speak to the experience of maybe your grandniece or whatever, or, you know, because her other niece is more white than anything. Yes, her other nieces are more white than anything. I think that because Maya's husband, I think is Maya's husband Jewish too? I think Kamala's sister's husband is Jewish, I think. That's crazy. Anyway, I think, don't quote me on that, but I think he is. So I guess you can't really talk about that for her nieces. But either way, she had another opportunity to just speak to being who you are. There's a different, you know, so there's people who complain and say, I hate when people make everything about their race. But that does not mean that you can't speak about your race, your experiences. Every day, I live in a foreign country. I live in Brazil. Every day, my wife, in one form or another, and not just her, but other people, she talks about her experiences as a Brazilian woman. She just doesn't bring up the fact that she's Brazilian because she's living here. So it's just like her experiences. She talks about her experiences being a black rural, because she's from the rural part of Brazil, extremely rural. Like, don't got indoor plumbing rural. And when she's explaining herself and she's talking about her experiences that led to the explanation, I'm like, oh my God, you're always talking about being Brazilian. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you're talking about your experiences and how what you've been through makes you more proud of where you are and who you are and what you're doing right now, no one would have a problem with that. But the problem is, nothing that she's been through legitimately, she feels is relatable to the black women that have been coaxed into supporting her because of these non-existent experiences. She knows it. She can't speak off the cuff about something that's never happened, because then people would check her. And because if she gives a story right now for Dana, the next interview, she gotta say it again. And it better match up. The debate, if it gets brought up by Trump, she has to say it again. And it better match up. And then maybe because it's Kamala, she tends to talk a little bit too much, right? She starts adding details that aren't necessary. So now people start doing research and figure out, like what they did with her, and I was that little girl. Right? Like, she wasn't being bused from a poor area. She was being bused from a fucking upper middle class wealthy area. Because she talked too much, people figured out, hold up, let's look at where she was living at. Then they found out she was living in an upper middle class wealthy area in both Berkeley and in Montreal. So like, she knows she can't tell the stories of a black experience that she's never had because it will get brought up again. And Kamala might be the worst liar in the goddamn world. Her lies come with zero confidence. At least when Trump lies, that boy be confident. Boy, Trump will look at you dead in the face and be like, the sky is clearly brown. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you need better contacts. Maybe you need to see my optometrist because my optometrist is the best. Because clearly your optometrist has problems because everybody here, including me, can perceive that this sky is as brown as my shoes. And if you can't see that, just admit that your optometrist isn't that good. Like, he'll tell you a lot like that. Yeah, it ain't Kamala. Kamala like, the sky is blue. Yeah, of course it is. Is it really? Oh, yeah, it's for sure. Like, you can't even believe Kamala when she's telling the truth because she sounds like she's lying. Because she's like, no confidence. This is why, by the way, so the other day I tweeted out, and I didn't actually expect that many people to care about the tweet, but it was just like one of my morning thoughts. I'd be having thoughts in the morning. I tweeted out about Kamala's imposter syndrome. And for those of you who don't know what imposter syndrome is, I don't know about it for everybody else, but I know in minority communities, it's basically a false perception of yourself based on a belief that you don't deserve to be where you are as far as your career, your notoriety, et cetera, because of it's the negative impact of conditioning of Western society, especially like in the United States, right? And so no matter how much you achieve, and it's usually just a false construct of your own mind because of insecurities. So, and it is not that everybody can't go through it, but this is something that is most notably experienced by minorities and specifically Black people. Now, like I said, normally it would just be a construct of the mind, but in Kamala's case, it's not a construct of the mind. She's experiencing imposter syndrome because she actually is an imposter. God damn, where is it at? Give me 1 second, I'm gonna find it. Well, I thought I was gonna find it. Oh, I know where I can find that. Give me 1 second. But yeah, imposter syndrome. I've gone through that back in the day. Not as much anymore. I've grown out of it, but growing up, and even in my early adult years, I've gone through that. So, I found a tweet. Let's go. I want y'all. 3, it's an important conversation, man, because maybe some of y'all might be going through this. I don't know. It's an important conversation to have anyway. Okay, here we go. Okay, y'all can see that. I said that you can tell in her demeanor and the way that she speaks that Kamala has serious imposter syndrome. And normally it is only a construct of the mind. But in Kamala's case, she actually doesn't deserve to be in her position. And she and everybody else knows it. Every time she talks, she reminds the world and herself that she's in over her head. She's reminded that she was never picked because of her qualifications, but for how reliably controllable she is. And she's reminded that she hasn't achieved a single political title without the odds stacked in her favor. And even then, her elections were contested and marred in controversy. Actually, all 3, her DA, her attorney general, and her Senate races were actually controversial, but it never made national headlines because it was controversial within the primary. Anyway. And, or at least in the case of the last 2. So I'm going to say that, and now she's being paraded as the second coming of Obama in the new quote unquote great Black hope for Black women all over the country. A role she never thought she'd be in, and a role she never could have expected to play given her own history. She is aware of, like, she knows the experience she's had regardless of what experiences they try to craft and invent for her. So she knows she never expected to be in this type of position. And based off of her history, too. Because once again, when she was running for Senate, DA, and Attorney General, she was running on being Indian. Anyway, and even and in every single interview, and this is, by the way, this is August 28, 2024. So this was 2 days ago. I said in every single interview, debate, and interaction for the next 70 days, Kamala's imposter syndrome will continue to shine through, and it will be her undoing. Because the only way to conquer imposter syndrome as a minority, especially one who identifies as Black, is to actually be overqualified. And she is not, which we all know. The CNN interview on Thursday will be the start of an implosion. Bank on it. There you go. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? Her imposter syndrome literally, like she got a chance to address the issues surrounding her Blackness, lack thereof, or the perception of her Blackness. She had 2 opportunities, which, one, it lets you know that the media is cognizant of what they're doing. The mainstream media and CNN is cognizant of the fact that they're pushing Blackness onto her, which is, once again, why that's what makes what Nick said yesterday so fucking hilarious. In case y'all missed the live stream yesterday, and y'all gotta go check it out. I streamed with Nick and Rome from RBN. Nick said, I don't understand why these people keep pushing fucking celebrities, Black celebrities, onto us to talk about politics or Kamala or policy or Black policy. He said, like, what the fuck? You don't call George Lopez on to talk about the border crisis? He said, so why the fuck would you have Charlamagne the God on to talk about Black politics? I was dying because it's so true. It's so blunt and in your face and deliberate. You're like, yeah, man. So, you know, we don't have to call Kamala Black, but what we'll do is we'll have Charlamagne the God come on. We'll have Angela Yee come on. We'll have Nina come on every now and then. We'll have Joy push this message of joy. Yeah, we worked really hard on that one. We was really proud of that one. Yeah, have Joy and Reed come on during the convention and talk about the gift of Black joy. Yeah, give me a raise for that one. But we won't even have to call Kamala Black. We'll just make sure that Trump and everybody else keeps saying she's not Black. And then we'll keep throwing more Black people at them to piss them off so they can keep focused on the topic without Kamala ever having to actually address the Blackness. We'll call it implied Blackness. Yeah, like collateral damage. Implied Black. We never said she was Black. We never said she was going to help the Black community. We just had a bunch of Black people come on the news and do podcasts, and we paid a bunch of Black people to perform. We literally paid little fucking John to come out and perform. We just got, Beyonce to have her song Freedom be played on Kamala's campaign. We just had her do a whole phone call with Barack Obama, and did a whole video about it. But we didn't say she was Black. We're gonna do anything for Black people. Y'all just assume that. Bro. Her imposter syndrome shined through. So do y'all know the basketball player Rui Hachimura? He plays now he plays for the Washington Wizards. He's Japanese. So a lot of people didn't realize Rui Hachimura does not speak English well. He barely speaks English. He's recently started becoming better, but his English was so bad because he's half Japanese, half African. But he was raised in Japan solely. He only spoke Japanese, which is a kind of a wild concept when you think about it, because the dude was huge, but he was raised around Japanese kids, played basketball, and basically he was so good at basketball that they encouraged him to learn English so he could take the SAT and go to college. They never ask him about how it is to be like a Black Japanese guy, nor does he ever talk about it, even though he can't speak. Because he's like, I don't really know what y'all talking about. I'm Japanese. I mean, he looks Japanese. He looks like he's Black and Asian, but he looks like he could be really Asian, anything else, not necessarily Black. But he's like, I'm Japanese. I don't know what the Black experience is here in America. He don't really know what the black experience is in Japan because he's Japanese. His name is Rui Hachimura. It's not, and even then he was African. His father was African, but he doesn't speak the language because his father speaks Japanese fluently. He has never come to America and talk about what it meant to be a black. Like, only recently has he ever even brought it up because it was like asked about it, and he's like, oh, I guess it's kind of a big deal now that people keep bringing it up to me. Not saying it because he's Japanese, so like there's a whole thing with that. But like what he was saying was like, I guess it's a bigger deal, but in reality for him, he's Japanese. And kind of having somewhat dark skin complexion, that does not mean you've lived a certain experience. He ain't about to lie about an experience he never had, which is why he never talks about it. Kamala doesn't want to lie about an experience that she never had, but she's trying to win and campaign on. Because she knows if she has to talk about it too many times, she will get caught in her lie. But the only reason you would have to lie about those experiences is because of what? It's because you've never lived them. So when I say Kamala has imposter syndrome, she actually has imposter syndrome. She is an actual imposter. But now she's in too deep. She's in too deep. She's here now. I'm not sure she even wanted to be here, but she's so young because Kamala's kind of like, she's relatively young. She's so young. She's the vice president of the United States. She can't back out now, right? Because it's not just her job, that her sister is part of the Democratic establishment. She's part of the Democratic machine. There is actually, now there's consequences involved. Her husband, AIPAC puppet. There's consequences involved for everybody in her life now. She is in too deep. Everybody in her life who is beyond a shadow of a doubt smarter than she is are reliant on what Kamala does going forward, and all she's done is literally fallen upward. And she knows it. And to maintain any feasibility of even becoming the president, she has to win this massive number of black voters in states she probably won't. We covered this yesterday. And the way she has to do that is to pretend to be somebody and live a life that she's never been and has never lived. Bruh. And y'all wonder why she's nervously cackling all the time? You wonder why she speaks in that high-pitched, nervous voice all the time? Imagine that the entire Democratic establishment, and not just the Democratic establishment, you're talking about the Atlantic Council, you're talking about globalists, you're talking about NATO, we're talking about the EU, Israel. Because there's a power vacuum. There's going to be a power vacuum regardless, and there's really a power vacuum right now. But definitely once this is over, and especially if Kamala loses, especially then, there's a globalist power vacuum in the Democratic Party, and you need the duopoly for the globalists to get their policies passed. You need the duopoly to get the wars, to get the weapons or the money to the manufacturers, the weapons manufacturers, for the pharmaceutical industry to run the world. You need the duopoly. Kamala has all of that put on her now. You got Ukraine and Zelensky put on you. You got Israel and Palestine put on you. You got your family's goals and ambitions put on you. You got the Democratic Party put on you. They committed a coup in your name to put you as vice president. You got Obama endorsing you. An endorsement that was good enough to get Joe Biden elected. And if it doesn't get you elected, what is that going to say? And you are going against somebody that y'all believe is extremely beatable. And it looks like you're not going to win. And all of that is reliant largely upon what? Because it isn't her policy. She still doesn't have a single policy listed on her website. Yeah, she had time to sit down for the interview. They had a week to prepare. You would have thought that would have been an opportunity for her to be like, all right, man, let's go ahead and get this motherfucking policy up. Let's get these policies up because they're going to go straight to the website after this interview is over. But nope, didn't do that. I don't know what the hell she was doing because she didn't prep for the interview either, based off of what we heard. So all of that is reliant on the perception, the PR campaign that is Kamala being black girl boss. And she has to get on a debate stage with Donald Trump in a couple of weeks. Yeah, that shit that ain't gonna go down well. That is not gonna go down well. I just don't believe it. Because Trump knows who he is. Trump knows who the hell he is. He'll lie. He'll say whatever he has to say. He'll say whatever he has to say in front of whoever he has to say it in front of, but that don't matter. He still knows who he is. And that's a weapon when you're in the environment that we're in right now, bro. I know everybody's always saying like, oh, this is the most important election in history. Some people make light of that, but this is an important election, and it probably is the most important election in history, but it's not because necessarily of a policy that either candidate will or won't pass. It is because of the reverberating impact that either of their victory or losses could bring around the world. Does World War III get kicked into hyperdrive with Kamala? Or do we go back to unpredictability with Trump, which could upset the balance of power? And people could take advantage of that. Like some countries that otherwise wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it could take advantage of it. Like, it is important. And for a lot of voters, they believe that this is a battle for the soul of our country. I don't believe that shit. Because I don't believe that Trump nor Kamala represent our souls, not the average person's. But they believe that, and they are still looking at the context outside of our country. They're looking at both. So there are a lot of people who actually believe that this is the most important election ever. And you think that they won't smell it, they won't sniff that shit on Kamala? That's why they keep it from the camera, because they know it. They know we're all like, huh. What's your favorite Donna Summer song? We waiting. What's your favorite Donna Summer song? I don't even know if you can be qualified to be considered even an applicant for black womanhood if you can't name a Donna Summer song. From what year to what year did you use Vaseline to solve all of your skin hydration needs? We need to know. Castor oil, how many spoons did you take? Like they say on the West Coast, we know where you live, where your grandma lived. We know who you are. And people gonna smell it. And that interview was the first domino to fall. I truly believe that. I truly believe that interview was the first domino to fall. And if you can't handle a friendly interview with Tim Walz by your side to act as a fucking lightning rod, which is weird. It was in an interview from Dana Bash from CNN, who is always trying to make you look good. How are you gonna fare against Donald Trump on the debate stage or in other interviews where they're not gonna necessarily be as friendly? If she even takes one, because she might go back and watch this and be like, nah, we ain't about to do this shit again. How? And then that just, once again, before we get up out of here, goes back to the final question. That should piss y'all off even more if you're a Democrat. If you are one of those Democrats who actually believes in the Democratic primary process and actually believes they actually stand for democracy, I would be pissed. Because y'all didn't even get a chance to vote for this shit show. That's the wild thing. Y'all didn't even get a chance to choose your L, right? You know, at least back in the day, y'all could have chosen your L. Not really, but there was an illusion of choosing it because Joe Biden definitely, I'm pretty sure he was selected. But whatever. But y'all didn't get to choose your L this time. They didn't even have the audacity to give y'all the illusion that you were in charge of your party. And this is the result. Even after you rebuked this woman, the Democratic Party will be in shambles if she loses this election, because that means we don't know who we are, actually, in the context of how we want voters to perceive us so that they'll vote for us. We don't know who we are anymore. How do we fix this? Obama help. Yeah, no, that ain't gonna help. That don't work no more. Obama can't run again. If I was a Democrat, if I was a liberal, if I was like these little fuckers on YouTube, like TYT and Humanist Report, I would be pissed that they force Kamala on them. Y'all are being forced to kiss that crystal ball. All of them. Y'all being forced to kiss Kamala's ass? Like, come on, bro. I know some people that probably would have gave up political commentary if Nikki Haley would have won. They would have been like, all right, I'm going to take a 4-month vacation. I'll be back a little bit. Some conservatives, I guess. They were like, yeah, I'm out. I'm good. They would immediately, or they would have spent all their time attacking her, holding her accountable, calling her out for what she is. But instead, once again, where we should be on a united front as leftist independents, you know, who supposedly, at least I thought that genocide was a red line. I know, silly me. I keep making that mistake. We should be on a united front. And from that united front, if it was a solid united front, the Democratic Party would be on its knees. Because they are aware and cognizant of not only who they have supporting them on the ground and the influencers, but they also know in the independent media world and the large networks who support them too. They know. They're fully aware of it. And they also know, they watch us enough that they know where they have to start bending and who they have to pander to. And if everybody was on the united front because, yeah, there's not really any scenario where we're going to support genocide, sorry. Best of luck. But not really. Like, they would begin to bend. They would. Because they know they can't lose this election. But it was like TYT called them and everybody had a fucking meeting. The moment, hell, it sounded like they were part of the meeting to choose Kamala, don't it? The way that everybody just flipped like that. Just immediately. Genocide's not that important. Crazy, huh? So, let me know what y'all think about this interview, man. Y'all like this video, leave a comment. Y'all can support the show once again by becoming a channel member, getting extra content here. We're still trying to get to 20 channel members on YouTube. We got way more than that on Rockfin, but once we get to 20 on YouTube, we'll start doing our exclusive YouTube Rockfin premium streams. You can also support the show, obviously, by donating through Super Chats. You can also donate through Patreon. Make sure you follow us on Telegram. If you want to ask me a question that you want me to do a whole separate video about, you can go to Q Bounty in the link description. But you can go to Q Bounty in the link in the description below. Let me make sure I got all these super chats out the way. Eric Husso, ignorance is bliss. It must be the joy they speak of. Eric Husso, so Rachel Dolezal is more black than Kamala. I mean, look. I'm a pretty good debater and I can make an argument for it. I mean, shit, they told me that Kamala went to Howard University, therefore you can't question her blackness. Well, so did Rachel Dolezal, bitch. So I don't know what to tell you. Apparently, if Howard University is the metric for blackness, there you go, Rachel Dolezal. Appreciate you, Saw, for our newest channel member, Sella. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Make sure y'all subscribe too and like and share this video. I don't know how many likes we got. I have to check. Make sure y'all follow me on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter, at Real Niko House. Go follow us on Hotspot at Hotspot. You can also follow Hotspot on YouTube as well. But just put out a banger today, talking about Palestine and what's going on in the West Bank. Put it out this morning, so y'all go check that out. Like and share. Matter of fact, y'all go like and share everything on Hotspot. And make sure y'all go follow Nick. I think many of y'all follow him already from RBN. Socialist MMA on Twitter. He's my Hotspot partner in crime. So y'all go follow him too. All the links are in the description. Like this video once again. Share this video. Like. Like it. Don't leave without like it. And share it with one person if you can. Everybody needs to see this breakdown because they need to know. They just need to understand how horrible this person is. And so they can stop legitimizing this illegitimate fucking system. Once we get to that point, we can finally start getting into solutions. But as long as people keep thinking that an illegitimate system is the solution, we're going to still keep having the problems. right? So like this video, share it with one person. Don't forget to subscribe, but always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.